Welcome to the 12th episode of Generation Gap Book Reviews. I'm Christy the mom.
And I'm Lena the daughter.
Thought you were just going to space through that for a second there.
I started.
You started to space?
Yeah.
In this episode, we are going to be reviewing The Giver by Lois Lowry.
Yay.
And right up front, I will just say that I shouldn't say neither of us. I learned either before or while I was reading this book or maybe after, whenever, that this was a book that a lot of people had to read for school. I never did.
I read it for school.
Although you read it for school, but not in the way that
I'm not public schooled, so
Yes, I just mean though that some of the reviews were people complaining about how they had to read it in 8th grade or something, and they didn't like it because they had to pick it apart. I mean, in middle school and high school, there were definitely books that I read that I might have enjoyed more if I didn't have to, like, every chapter write some kind of, or answer questions about it and talk about symbolism and all that. And I get why they do that, but sometimes I kind of think it might ruin books for kids, teenagers.
I feel like I'd enjoy that.
So, I'd heard of this book and I knew the author, but I always had seen the cover, and honestly, this is going to sound silly. I don't know if it would sound that silly to you because I'm not sure if you're going to get this, but
because of the man.
Well, yes, but so I thought it looked like something kind of drama, boring.
Oh.
Or somehow I thought it would be like The Giving Tree, which I know makes absolutely no sense. I know, it's silly, right? But it's just the kind of thing that you make these snap judgments. I had no idea it was sci-fi or like dystopian or any of that. And then I got it for Christmas. I got the 4-book, the entire Giver quartet, The Giver, Gathering Blue, Messenger, and Son, in 1-book volume from my sister for Christmas. And she also gave me the DVD or Blu-ray, I think actually, of the movie The Giver. And she said, I thought you might want to do like a book versus movie post on your blog, because at the time I had done a few of those, and it took me still a while to get around to actually reading this book, but now I have. Now I've read the whole series, and you have not.
I need to, but there are so many books.
How many have you only read the first one?
Yeah, I started Gathering Blue, but that was before I was actually into reading, so it really fell short.
It fell short? The book fell short, or you mean like you fizzled?
I fizzled, I guess. I don't know. I need to read it soon, because I read this book before I was actually more like a reader. I just read things for school mostly, which is kind of, the story of how I became a reader is kind of funny.
The story of how you became a reader?
Yeah, kind of. Because it was like, I think it was like, I was doing reading for school, and then I was like, Mom, can I read Harry Potter for school or something like that for some reason?
Oh yeah, and then I was like,
I said, read things for
you
fun.
can read on your own time, right? Then you can choose whatever you want to read.
I was like shocked. I was like, that's
true.
Right.
And that's considering you had been reading. There was a stretch of time before that you enjoyed reading.
I read like years before. Yeah. And then
you kind of just stopped doing it, didn't care.
Stopped. But now I'm back into it.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
All right, well, so the synopsis of this book is it's about, the main character is a 12-year-old named Jonas. And he's living in a community that is very, very different from ours, where everybody's given a life assignment when they turn 12, I'm pretty sure. Or not when they turn 12, but it's like once a year, all the 12-year-olds.
Oh wait, is it 12? Okay.
Yeah, it is 12-year-olds, but it's not just when they turn that. It's every year, once a year, all of the 12-year-olds get a life assignment, and so some of them are assigned to be like birth mothers. We literally are the only ones in the entire society that have babies, or I think growers, like people that work in the greenhouses or something like that. People that work in the houses of the old, if that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, and other places in the society. Mm-hmm. And Jonas, so during this ceremony, when all of the 12-year-olds are given their life assignments, Jonas is overlooked.
Gasp.
And then he's told that he's going to be the new receiver of memory for his entire community.
But what does that mean?
Well, he doesn't know, because he didn't know there was anything like that.
Yeah.
And what that means is he'll be working with the giver of memory.
What?
The giver will be giving memories to Jonas, the receiver.
Said the thing.
So as the giver starts to give, we have to say that thing a lot.
Yeah.
We should start like a challenge for one of these books where we say like we can't say the title after once we finish saying what the book is called, we can't say the name of the book ever again the rest of the
That'd be so funny.
that would be bizarre. Anyway, the more of these memories the giver reveals to Jonas, the more he knows that he cannot continue to live in the emotionless, apparently memoryless, colorless world of conformity and blandness.
What does that mean?
Well, it means the world is colorless and bland.
What?
And I also want to mention, actually, you and I have both sort of read this twice, right?
Yeah, we read the actual book, and then we
like a year or two later, I think.
A year or two later, for I think like a reading challenge at
the library.
At the library, we had read the graphic novel.
Yeah.
I can't think of words anymore.
One of the challenges you were supposed to do was read a graphic novel, and we happened to see this on the shelf or something at a different library.
At a different library.
And we thought, well, that might be kind of fun to read.
Yeah. And then I was like, ooh, yeah.
Which helped to, refreshen it in our minds, really. Mm-hmm. So, Lena, what did you like about this book?
The with Jonas learning things and seeing life as it really was and stuff. It was just, I feel like that whole thing was kind of interesting. Things that were discovered and stuff.
And that's it.
For his friendships with his two friends, Fiona and Asher, I think, how they went and stuff.
How his friendships went.
I'm
sorry.
Learning about the different jobs. It's kind of interesting. So, yeah. So
I remember being really confused because hopefully it's not a spoiler to say that basically their entire world is gray. The memory of color is sucked out. I don't know how. There's a lot about how this world came to be and how it really works that is not explained, and I think that's fine. I don't think we need to know all of those details. Mm-hmm. But apparently somehow the memory of color was actually taken away from all of these people. Mm-hmm. But you don't know that because of course Jonas doesn't know that there is such a thing as color. And how is it revealed to us that they actually don't know color?
Through
Do you remember?
Memories?
No, well, yes, but after he'd started to get some of the memories from the giver, do you remember how he realizes the apple?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It was a really, really cool moment, and I guess I shouldn't say more than that. I don't know that, again, I don't know that it's necessarily a spoiler. It's fairly early in the book, but I just remember it being a really cool moment. And I don't think I'm going to be able to not reference the graphic novel, too. There's not a lot of reason to reference both individually, but the fact that they don't see the world in color and then Jonas starts to awaken to that. It's done really well in the graphic novel because, as you can imagine, there's images and stuff, so they actually do represent the blandness in a way different from as he starts to see things more, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say about what you liked about it, or is that all you can really remember?
That's all I can remember.
What about how things unfold as he, not, of course, no details, but how things unfold as he starts to awaken to this new understanding of the world?
Oh, yeah. It's like a teenager coming to life. That doesn't make a lot of sense. That's a really weird and I don't know what to say anymore.
That it was like a teenager waking up?
Yeah.
A teenager waking up, but you didn't really mean that.
Well, I kind of do, but I don't want to say anything because there'll probably be spoilers. Just kind of growing in reality, kind of coming out of what's his naivete. Sure.
You're learning all sorts of new words. So since we talk about he's the receiver of memory and that's the giver of memory giving him the memories, it makes sense, of course, that he doesn't have memories of things. They're not exactly taught history of the world or anything like that. So yes, he learns about what is out there in the world, what has existed in life before their community, at least. And yeah, things definitely shock him. Things shocked me. There were some things that he discovered that were sad and shocking and just emotional. So it's actually interesting to call this dystopian because clearly the people who, however this society came to be this way, they were intending for it to be more of a utopia. They were intending for the conformity, the blandness, that was their way. They thought that was the way of keeping everybody safe and keeping there from being danger and stuff like that. But what it came down to for Jonas and for the giver is that it's just such a heavy burden to bear to be the only one who has memories and knowledge of things. And there were some things that happened. Like, I kind of was able to predict some of what was going to happen, but there were definitely still some shocks, some surprises to me. I don't know if I'd say shocks, I guess. There were definitely some surprises to me. And now my question is, do you have anything about this that you didn't like?
The ending, which was kind of abrupt, but since I haven't finished the series, I don't know what's going to happen. I know that they're not specifically continuing this. I don't know if the next one isn't continuing the story. That's all I know. But
you don't know anything.
You don't know anything.
I mean, how do you know if you haven't read it?
But because of what you have said after I read it, I feel like I kind of remember some of that where we're like, yeah, the next book doesn't like.
It's not a direct continuation.
Gathering Blue.
The whole series is.
I mean, they're all like in the same universe, right?
Yeah. Well, before we talk more about the series, yeah, the only thing I really remember not really liking about it was the ending was. It was ambiguous. I guess I can't say I didn't like it. It was more just, I don't know. Sometimes I can understand authors can write things however they want. They can end things however they want. But sometimes I wish they didn't feel the need sometimes to be so very ambiguous, and that people have a lot of different theories about what was going on at the end of this book. I remember when I read the graphic novel, the ending, I think maybe because it was a visual thing, I kind of saw, the graphic novel actually made the ending even more ambiguous. But I also wasn't sure if I only thought that because I had read the rest of the series, so I knew what she was kind of going for with it.
Oh.
So that's kind of hard to say. But other than the ending though, I don't think I mean, how many stars would you give this book? I don't think, again, I think this was before you were actually rating stuff. But
that's a really good question. Probably 5. I feel like it's like a classic in my brain because
it's a classic.
I mean, it is.
I think it's regarded as a classic.
Pretty much as a classic.
I rated it 5 stars also. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
What'd you rate? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What'd you rate the graphic novel? The same?
5 stars, yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
5 stars?
Why do you say it like that?
It's really hard to say because I wasn't reading back then. So, I have to go back and, think through my brain
When you look back on it now, do you remember having any issues with it? Feeling like there was something that could have been done a lot better?
I don't think so.
Do you just remember liking it?
Yeah.
It's probably 5 stars then.
5 stars.
And who would you recommend it to?
People.
We're done.
Young people could probably read it, 10 and up.
It's not a hard read. It's not a long read. It is, I think, a good intro to sci-fi, or especially dystopian sci-fi. There's a lot of young adult or middle grade dystopian stuff nowadays, but this was written, I think, before that became a trend.
Hunger Games.
Yes, this was written before that became a trend, I'm pretty sure. So I think that, yeah, 10 and up or so, and even older people, if you haven't read it for school or something, and it sounds at all interesting, I would say give it a try. It's fairly simple, like for sci-fi and for dystopian, it's a fairly, it's not heavy. It's a fairly simple read. It's a good intro to that kind of stuff. And if you've got somebody, especially if you've got somebody in your life who's a little reluctant of a reader, the graphic novel might be a good place to start.
Oh yeah.
Now I will mention, I don't know if we'll get to the rest of the series because unless you like them quite a bit, I don't know that we would have a reason to review them. So I'm just going to mention I've read them all, and I think it goes straight downhill from here.
Oh, well, I wouldn't know.
Maybe someday you will.
Someday!
I should clarify, I did give Gathering Blue, the second book, 4 stars. It didn't have quite the charm of the first one, but I liked it. Then you get past that to Messenger and to Sun, and it is bizarre and really hard to see where Lois Lowry was going with this storyline, with this world. The 4th book, I really don't know how much of this she could have possibly had planned in advance, and I feel like she took a book that had a lot of success and tried to expand it out, and it didn't. I don't think it went well, but there are people who think it did, so that's all I'm going to say on those, because that's not what this review is supposed to be about. And I think that's all we have to say about this book in general.
There's a movie.
There is a movie, that's true. We did watch the movie.
We did watch the movie. There were some scenes that I remember specifically from the movie that I were like, well, those in the book? No, they were in the book, so don't say anything about those, because they were in the book.
Did you just eat a lot of sugar all of a sudden? Oh.
No, I don't. I just had them. I just started talking fast for some reason.
Yes, you did.
But I don't know. The movie was interesting. What did you think of the movie?
I just mostly remember questioning, what? where did they get this? It's just one of those things where they had to make it more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And this book wasn't exactly exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It was a thinker and it was interesting, but it wasn't like lots of action, and they have to add action to these kinds of movies.
Gotta have guns and knives and poison.
The sad thing is, I think that since the intention of giving me the book and the movie was for me to write a comparison blog post, and I don't think I ever did that.
Yeah.
Because after the first couple, it kind of became more of a chore to try to keep track of what I liked about the movies or didn't like about the movies or the differences between them, and I just never got around to posting. I've done two. No, I've done three. No, I've done two, and I actually have a third one actually mostly written up, and I never got around to posting it. As they probably should still, but I am number 4.
Oh.
I guess that's it for this book then, right?
Yeah. Join us next time when we are going to be reviewing The Prisoner of Cell 25 by Richard Paul Evans.
Until next time, I'm Christy.
And I'm Lena.
And this is Generation Gap Book Reviews.